Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our channels. I'm here with.
One Fit Bruja.
Good to see you again. Good to have you back on my channel, and it's good to be on yours once again.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, would you like to kind of like throw your plugs in there right at the beginning before we get into the accuracy of Constantine and talking about that movie in
Before
regards
you
to
lose track of all this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. As Hunter said, my channel is One Fit Bruja. You can find all sorts of metaphysical videos on there that should pique your interest, or hopefully you can learn something from it. And I have an Etsy shop that's called BrujadeMarigoldManor that you can find, and there's a handful of items there that should help you out in your everyday life.
Excellent. All right, so I guess we can go ahead and dive into the accuracy of the supernatural in the movie Constantine. So we are talking about Constantine with Keanu Reeves, and he's basically like just for the audience, he's kind of like somebody who does exorcisms, and he fights demons and things like that. So there's some scenes that kind of stuck out to us. One of the scenes is when he decides to. So there's a lot there's scenes where he's like fighting demons in somebody else's body. I think one of the first scenes is when this I can't remember if it's a girl or a lady, but she's possessed and she kind of like crawls onto the ceiling and stuff like that.
And he traps her in the mirror and it flies out the window.
Yeah.
Gets rid of the demon. Yeah.
And, you know what is it about both mirrors in that movie, because we see the mirror thing happen again when they're in the liquor store, and then we see the angel and the demon, we see them accurately. I think it's either through glass or there's glass present, and they kind of like play with that. Do you think that there's something to the whole reflection thing? So we see the reflection thing with vampire movies as well, and them not being able to see their reflection. Is it because vampires and demons, they just maybe the trope, but also maybe going into the actuality of the circumstance? Is it because they're kind of like based on Maya, or they're mainly composed of Maya, or that's their mindset and they can't be seen beyond the distortion of the physical eye? Or what are your thoughts on that, just in general?
Well, from what I've read and what I've kind of experienced is that, especially in paranormal, I don't know if you've watched like Ed and Lorraine Warren films or anything like that. They've done like The Conjuring and stuff like that.
Oh, The Conjuring, yeah, I've seen The Conjuring.
Stories. Yeah, they have like a long list of investigations that they've done throughout their lifetime. And usually mirrors are good for entrapping something. It's the same concept as like a body of water. If you see your reflection in it, it's like an entrapment. You can kind of contain something within there. But the mirror is better because if you shatter it, it's supposed to break how they truly see themselves. It's like seeing someone for who they really are, basically, is kind of like the concept that I get from that.
All their little different segments and the different pieces of the maybe you can like discern their makeup mentally or like spiritually when it comes to these different beings. Is that the idea?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's like you're being exposed. You can see your true colors. You can see who they are. Yeah, it's kind of like just taking your makeup off and you're like, oh my god, it's so ugly, but oh, what the hell happened? But yeah, all that contouring doesn't work. You can see all your true colors through that mirror or through that body of water, and you're basically exposed. So that different realm, basically, it's kind of like a little portal gateway, expose everything of what you are.
Nice.
So, yeah.
That does align with what I was thinking as well. Except I didn't think about the different parts in the shattering of the mirror. It's because there's a lot of scrying. There's a lot of like scrying where you're trying to like see your soul or work with your with your spirit, your own spirit, where we use obsidian mirrors or scrying mirrors and things like that. So it's kind of like a relationship to yourself or what yourself was trying to tell you. Is that something that makes sense with your understanding of scrying as well?
Right. It does, actually, because a lot of people end up blacking out their mirrors, but you can actually scry into a mirror and just stare right at yourself. It actually works just as fine, if not actually better, because you should actually look past this exterior. There's nothing wrong with how you look. You stare at your eyes, you get lost in your eyes, and you figure out who you are based off your eyes. Your eyes are a gateway. You see yourself for who you really are in that gateway, and you can figure anyone out based off of their eyes. That's just my belief. But you don't really need to talk. If you just stare at each other in their eyes for a long period of time, that's a meditation form.
That makes sense.
So yeah, mirror is a big gateway for me. So I can see it in a lot of different perspectives.
Yeah. So I guess we should go to another By the way, everybody, if you like this kind of video, feel free to say on my channel or her channel in the comment section below. Comments also help the algorithm. If you like these kinds of videos, we can do other movies.
Yeah, we can debunk a lot of other films.
Yeah, there's a lot. So there's another scene where so before we get to the executioner's chair in the water underneath, there's another scene where so he goes into this club, with I don't remember the black dude's name. But it's kind of like a club where it's like a neutral ground where the angels and the demons can't make trouble. And I get a really like a voodoo vibe from the guy that's kind of the owner of the club, or like maybe he's a vaudalissant, it's a practitioner of voodoo, or Santeria maybe. But it made me wonder. I think that there are these places where it's kind of neutral ground and spirits or different beings go to communicate, or they go there to communicate to mortals, perhaps. And there's certain inherent rules that perhaps they are bound to, maybe they're not bound to, that they kind of have to follow just from the makeup of reality and makeup of the multiverse, what have you. Do you feel like there's places like this? Maybe it's a little too like literal, and with angels and demons, it feels very dualistic in the movie. But do you feel like there's places like this, and perhaps there's beings that have places like this? I feel like Bela and Samedi would be in the graveyard would be one of these beings, and Papa Legba, of course. But do you believe that these places exist and these beings kind of exist as well, in kind of like neutral territory?
I believe, yeah, I mean, shit, look at us. We could go to some sort of like rave or some underground like festival activity or whatnot. You're collecting a lot of different people, like shamans and vampiric sort of people, and then there's all sorts of different people there. So I believe there's a lot of events that are held where all these people can kind of come together, and then it's like a balance, really. That's just how I see it. Everything takes some sort of balance. Even within ourselves, you need to have some sort of balance to operate and function properly. So I believe, yeah, there's always some sort of gathering going on where all these like spirits or entities could get together and coerce.
That makes sense, yeah, because it's in the movie it's very dualistic, like angels and demons, but I think both of our understandings, it's the world quite work that way.
Right.
It's not like bad or good necessarily. There's a lot of gray areas. There's not a whole lot of that. I think that's one thing that they kind of miss in the movie, is that there's not a whole lot of gray area between these beings.
Yeah, it's either this or that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you're an angel, you're on the side of the angels, you're on the side of the demons. But there's also holy water. So in the movie, that I'm gonna kind of jump around with. I'm just letting everybody know that I'm kind of gonna jump around the scenes. It's not necessarily chronological. But in the movie, he puts he puts like a holy cross. I think it's he does have a cross. He has a cross that he puts in the water basin in the hospital.
Just, like doused it in there, and
yeah, and then he goes into that room and kind of lights the fire detecting water, and it starts spraying and starts burning these demons. So I guess we should just talk about holy water and really what it is. So I'll just throw some of my ideas out there. So based on your alignments, so I don't think that all demons or demons inherently would just like burn or be adverse to Christian holy water or blessed holy water and things like that. I think that there's some that are so averse to the vibration of it that would just really not like it. I don't know about the burning thing. It's very literal as far as the manifestation of demons in that movie. But so what are your ideas on, do demons like have an aversion to holy items, and then they're like, and those holy items, of course, bless the holy water. That's how the Catholic Church does it, but there's also a lot of other churches that does it, and a lot of I've made my own holy water that's not Christian oriented. There's a lot of different kinds of holy water.
Yeah.
But what's your idea of the accuracy of that scene, or kind of like your thoughts on holy water in general?
Well, the first concept, society's belief, is you need water to be pure. You got to be clean. Salt's also a purification. So when they join the two together and you have someone of a higher power bless it, it can be like the ultimate tool or weapon in whatever you're trying to do, and help get rid of negative energies and anything that's trying to come at you. I also, like I was saying earlier, I believe that water is a gateway, and if certain Christian or Catholic beliefs come from like demons being able to come through that sort of kind of like gateway, even though it's not really talked about too much. But that water is that middle ground to kind of like send them back, go back to where you came from. So if that touches their skin, I believe the concept is that the impure thing will have to go back where it came from, sort of dealio.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that really makes sense or not, but water kind of sends them back. Yeah.
It makes sense. It's I think that makes sense in that so for me, I feel like it's a particular vibrations as well will affect the water based on however you're blessing or whatever you're blessing it with, especially if the vibration is like blessed by somebody who's very high up in your like religion or spiritual system or even shamanic practices. And those beings are naturally adverse to that. Like they're on the other side of that equation because in Christianity, and I guess even in Satanism, it's very dualistic. It's like this side and that side. And I think that various orientations based on the what they're using to either bless or curse the water, I guess, can affect its interaction with beings based on their own alignments if they are coherent in that system. I'm not really sure how holy water would work on like a Native American spirit or god or anything like that, because there's not like an alignment there. There's not really like a association with it per se. Because there's not like that kind of like waristic like going after the demons or anything like that. Because there's a lot of Native American gods or spirits who don't really have coherency in the Christian system, and I don't think they're natural enemies to it. Except perhaps maybe the people that were hurt by the Christians might be natural enemies to it, but I don't think that the beings themselves or the spirits are naturally adverse to it. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, that does. I get it.
And so we can go back to that one scene where so that scene where he calls upon Gabriel by using the sigil or whatever. I like that they used a sigil in that. I'm not really sure if it's a sigil for Gabriel, but it did look like a sigil when he had his two arms together. He had like
completed the gateways when he did it to call forth that power.
Oh yeah, like he was completing the sigil.
Two gates are coming together. Yeah. Completion.
Did he say some kind of prayer, or I think he said some kind of prayer when he said something.
Come into thee, or he was like calling forth through his, just like he was channeling basically, yeah. And then when he was like doing his arms together, he was basically chanting Gabriel to come down. I don't remember the full extent of what he said, but I remember come into thee was part of it. So he was definitely trying to use himself as a conductor, a conduit.
Yeah, it definitely felt like he was both the words of power and the sigil. Like I like that. It felt like an element of magic that I know it's a lot of ritual is also magic, but it's kind of like the completing the sigil and then certain words that he has said either in the past or words of power to call upon that certain being to kind of like call them down. So there's a lot of people use various circles and various sigils to call various beings in a number of ways. Of course, Kali has her own yantra, and there's all kinds of yantras in Hinduism, which are honestly very complicated sigils. But they're yantra means like visual mantras, and in Vodou we also have veves, which is the symbolic representation that spirit's kind of like an eye that spirit has into this realm. So I guess like do you think that felt like a coherent moment in like a magical system or ritualistic sense, and it felt more magical than necessarily Christian. What are your thoughts on that?
It was definitely more of a magical thing, because I believe sigils, since a lot of cultures have used sigils since before Christ, that I believe it's way more magic based than something that's Christian or Catholic. Because that's some sort of sigil, I believe, is where that angel had to come forth. If she ignored it, she would be in trouble in a sense, or he would be in trouble in a sense, whatever gender they were portraying in the movie. But yeah, Gabriel would have been in trouble if it was ignored. Because
it was like evocation. It was like evocation, basically.
Yeah. It was like kind of like a tit for tat relationship going on between him and this angel. Like there was like something due between both of them. So they were kind of indebted to each other in a sense. Yeah,
that makes sense. I guess we should go to the whole where he goes to hell scene. So when he sits down in the electric chair, and that guy that's kind of like in charge of the whole realm where angels and demons kind of mix without fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah, he uses the electricity to kind of like electrocute him. He's electrocuting this chair. There's a whole lot into that. So the chair itself, the fact that many souls have gone through it, specifically that object feels like it had the vibration of all those damn souls and where they went. It was like a death row electrocution chair. So do you feel like there's certain objects that if a soul is in contact with it, it kind of like gets that vibration, and when more than one soul is in contact with it, it gets that vibration, and perhaps it becomes a gateway based on the gate that was opened through it? Is that something that's a thing for you?
Yeah, I believe any sort of magic or frequency vibration is stronger when it's in a bigger collective. It helps create this rip in something that can help draw something to you way faster than if you're just by yourself. Some people are very good by themselves, don't get me wrong. They're great conduits by themselves. But if you have more people that are actually set and focused on that task in particular, and they aren't wavering and they're sturdy in their beliefs, and I believe that you can actually have a stronger connection with what you're doing. So yeah, I believe that.
That makes sense. Yeah, it is like because like consciousness and vibration and directed willpower, they all kind of coincide in a human being. And if multiple human beings have interaction with this and they've experienced something maybe traumatic through it, then being either in that space or with that item would be more likely to open a gateway for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole scene where he kind of goes to hell, and hell's like this darker reflection of Earth. Like everything's the same except everything's like deteriorated or being like torn apart by the winds.
On
And
fire. On fire. Yeah.
fire everywhere. Everything's on fire.
Mm.
And various beings are being like tortured beneath the streets of the city streets that we see. So I guess do we feel like the multiverse, different dimensions, some of them are just a darker or lighter reflection of this one, and they also go into the idea of time. So everything's going slower in hell for the environment, and being the environment being a reflection of this world, but the beings themselves being tortured, they're going they're going a quicker speed, the environment, and so are the demons. Does this feel coherent at all with like the multiverse, or kind of how like time works, or perhaps like different reflections of different universes, things like that?
I believe this could definitely happen in different universes. I don't believe time is equal everywhere you go. It depends on what realm or whatever sort of area or matter is in that realm and how it affects it. It might, whatever it's made of or whatever's going on in that realm could be completely different compared to like what's going on Earth. Whatever, there would be different materials, metals, and like other, maybe even other elements, who knows, that are there. So you can't really expect to have time and everything else be the same as on Earth. So yeah, I view that as plausible. You can't really tell unless you've been there.
Yeah, and it's like the demons themselves. They take human form here, but in reflections, like we're talking about mirrors, you can see their actual form. Or and in hell they're in their natural form, but here they take on like the human like physicality, because things are naturally both like just differently formed here, and it might be easier to go through a person as a gateway. But yeah, I thought that like explanation of demons, or like how the different realms work, was very interesting. Is there anything interesting that you'd like to mention about the movie, but before we kind of like end here?
I don't know. I think you brought up pretty much all the main points that I was thinking that was, accurate at this point in time, at least for what I practice anyway. So no, that sounds good. You hit a good amount.
And I did recently learn, everybody, I could be completely wrong about this, but that they're making a number 2, a Constantine 2. I forgot what the title is, but it should be. It's been announced as far as I know. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with Keanu Reeves. If they're gonna keep him old, or if they're gonna try to make him look younger, or what they're gonna do. But are you looking forward to seeing the next one?
Oh yeah, I'll see it definitely. Usually most of his films are good. I mean, I'm already addicted to all the John Wicks, so I'm definitely gonna watch Constantine too. It has magical references, so yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it makes it interesting. It makes you really like think about the vaster topics too when he's making a film like that. But hey, thank you very much for joining me today. It was good. It was good talking to you.
Yeah, you too.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to our channels, hit that like button down there, and most importantly, all of you have a wonderful day.